Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Pitch Please, the podcast where we talk about movies good and bad, and we try to fix them and then offer either a repitch or a pitch of the sequel that we want to see. As always, I'm your host, Alex.
And I'm Troy Smith, and we've been doing this for a little bit. Both of us are filmmakers, so we like to talk about movies all the time, and the good, the bad, the ugly, and talk about how problems could have been fixed and either redone. So today we're doing The Dark Knight Rises. We've actually had, I don't know, 3 or 4 people say, you should do The Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
So we thought, sure, we like that movie. That's a good movie. And
Finally got around to it.
yeah, absolutely. So that's what we're going to do. And
Yeah, let's get into it on another episode of Pitch Please.
all right, for The Dark Knight Rises, here are the stats for it. It was released on July 19th of 2012. Produced by Christopher Nolan, Charles Roven, and Emma Thomas. Directed by Christopher Nolan. Screenplay was by Jonathan Nolan and Christopher Nolan, their brothers. Cinematography was Wally Pfister. Edited by Lee Smith. Production design was by Nathan Crowley and Kevin Cavanaugh. Starring Christian Bale, Tom Hardy, Anne Hathaway, and Gary Oldman. Budget for this movie back in 2012 was $250 million, and it grossed $448 million worldwide, $1.1 billion. So that's a good turnaround. That's for $250 million, you make 4 times as much.
Pretty great turnaround. Yeah.
This was the end of a trilogy, the Batman trilogy, and Rotten Tomatoes critics give it an 87, audience gives it a 90.
Yeah. So if you haven't seen it, here's a synopsis. And if you have, here's a good refresher. Set 8 years after the events of The Dark Knight, Gotham City has entered a period of peace, and Bruce Wayne, played by Christian Bale, has retired as Batman, living in self-imposed exile. However, the rival of Bane, played by Tom Hardy, a masked terrorist who has a plan to destroy Gotham, forces Bruce to return as Batman. Bane, who possesses both the physical strength and strategic intelligence, terrorizes Gotham by dismantling its infrastructure and threatening it with a nuclear bomb. Bruce, physically broken from his past as Batman, must rebuild his strength and confront his fears to save the city. Alongside Selina Kyle, played by Anne Hathaway, a mysterious Catwood burglar, and Gotham's former police force, led by Commissioner Gordon, which is Gary Oldman, Bruce faces Bane in a battle that tests his resilience and determination. As the film progresses, Bruce's journey becomes one of redemption and sacrifice. Bane's true motivation is revealed to be the fulfillment of his mentor, Ra's al Ghul's vision to destroy Gotham, and he is ultimately revealed to be a pawn in a larger scheme orchestrated by Talia al Ghul, played by Marion Cotillard. After a climactic showdown, Bruce uses his ingenuity to detonate the nuclear bomb in a remote area, seemingly sacrificing his life to save Gotham. In the aftermath, Bruce is believed to be dead, but it is later revealed that he faked his death and left behind a legacy for Gotham's future. The film ends with the suggestion that Gotham's need for a hero will continue as John Blake, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, is poised to take on the mantle of Protector. The film concludes Nolan's trilogy with themes of perseverance, redemption, and the enduring hope for a better future.
Cool.
Yeah.
Let's get into it. What are some positives we got? We got some good positives. This is a good movie. People love this movie.
Yeah.
It's very enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
It's very long. It was, what was this one? Almost
2 hours and 45 minutes.
Yeah, 2 hours and 45 minutes long.
It's a long run time for sure, but
It is.
it does a good job. And they stuck with one villain this time, which was good.
Yeah, right.
I love The Dark Knight. It's probably the best movie in the trilogy, but adding in an extra villain towards the end there it made it a little long at the end. So sticking with one was pretty good. First things first, though, it starts off with this absolutely crazy plane scene where Bane is captured, or we think he's captured by the CIA, but it's really just a plot to get the scientist, Dr. Pavel, out and make it seem like he died, and so they take this plane, this tiny little CIA plane, and they grab it with a bigger plane that they brought along, and they flip it in the air and have it swinging. Like, knowing Nolan, they found a way probably to do some of it, like, practically.
I mean, it might have all been done
It
practically.
might have all been done practically. I don't know, we haven't done the research on that,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it was just it's a really cool visual thing to see. Like, the whole sequence was really well done.
Mhm.
Absolutely love it. I don't know what you thought about it, but
No, it was fantastic for sure. The whole concept of a plane hauling another plane, and the fact that the plane they were hauling was angled downward. It's not like 2
yeah.
planes aiming forward. I think we've seen that before, but in this one, one's just dangling there, and that was really interesting, and then they release it.
Yes.
You press a button, and how do they release it? Well, movie magic. We don't know. He presses a magic button, and the plane drops. Like
Leaves him just hanging
yeah.
off and like
And so that was pretty good. I liked it quite a bit.
mhm.
Um, there's a few things though, like in terms of some situations in that opening sequence, so that didn't make a lot of sense. So here's a couple problems: were the fact that the CIA they bring them 2 or 3 guys in masks and say these are bad guys and we need to take them on the plane with us, and the CIA, they never take the masks off their face. They don't know who they're taking onto their plane. They never look to see who it is. They never even question who it is.
Yeah.
So that was a writer convenience for sure on that.
Right. And just yeah, a little bit of oversight.
Yeah.
That was something too that I did have. Um Is what was the point of them getting caught by the CIA
Yeah.
other than to do the plane crash? But they could have faked this guy's death in so many other ways.
Mm-hmm.
So that to me was weird because we find out it's Bane's men that deliver Bane and Dr. Pavel to the CIA, and we had been told that Pavel had been captured by Bane's men. So why did he not recognize anyone with him and not know that Bane was there on the plane with him? Like, he seems genuinely shocked when, like, Bane's mask gets pulled off on the plane and we see that he's the one who's there. That was just kind of weird to me.
Yeah, it was a little forced. It was kind of fun. I think there's some other ways that could have happened.
Mm.
I don't really have a fix for that right now, though.
I mean, they could have just had it could have been like a cool chase sequence where Dr. Pavel's trying to escape from Bane getting chased down to like the streets of some faraway country
Mm-hmm.
and stuff, getting shot at. Then he thinks he's safe, but then all of a sudden he meets some guy who's almost like a doppelganger that looks like him, and maybe he's got like a bullet hole in his head already.
No,
And he's
sure.
wondering like what's going on, and then Bane captures him, does like, kind of put some of his blood in this cadaver, and then maybe blows up the building to make it seem like, Dr. Pavel got shot and killed in some foreign country. So like having the CIA involved was again just other than having a really cool plane sequence.
I mean,
That was the only reason to have them in, but you could have had a cool chase sequence with an explosion still.
yeah, I think that would have worked out really well too, Alex. Like that, yeah, like a chase. He runs into somebody who looks like him. What? I mean, that'd be a good shock value, and that'd be good for the audience too. A nice little twist for sure.
Yeah.
So, but the plane sequence is fun, to watch, although a little convoluted.
I'm sure the whole
So
point was to get to that sequence.
yeah, we'd have to have a plane sequence. Yeah,
It's like Tom Cruise, like, I have this idea that I really want to do.
let's wrap a 2-hour movie around it.
So we're definitely going to figure out how to do this one thing
Yeah.
and make it work. Yeah.
So, and then we fast forward, right, and we find out that it's been 8 years since the Dark Knight Rises, and that bothered me when I saw it in the movie theater. And the fact that we meet up with Bruce Wayne, who is wallowing in self-pity and depression, locked away in his house like an old man, and it was not a good look.
Nope, it wasn't.
No, it was a bad look for Batman. And yes, okay, you can argue story arc, right? He's gonna go from the lowest point possible to, being back to Batman. But we don't need to go 8 years. Like 2 years is fine.
Yeah.
2 years is fine. And a lot of people get over heartache after 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 8 years, and he's still locked away in his castle.
Stuck on this one girl.
Yeah, so I just thought that was plus, he has to age 8 years, and so does
Yeah,
Gordon has to age 8 years.
that's true, yeah.
And so it's just, I think that was a,
Alfred's gone another 8 years,
I
and
mean,
who knows how old he is.
Alfred's like 106. And so that's another point. It's like, so I think I would have dialed that back to 2 years for sure. 2 years is like a sweet spot for depression of missing someone.
Yeah, and that
Maybe
kinda
even a year.
honestly, 2 years I think would probably be better just because the whole idea of, like, we've enjoyed 2 years of clean streets, like, 8 years of clean streets is
Yeah.
really, really long.
And highly improbable.
Right, especially in, like, a big city, so I agree with you, like, the 2 years would have been better. Maybe he's still kinda depressed after 2 years, but, we're gonna move the story along, like, he's still younger, he's not completely just wasting away in his house, and now the city's maybe kind of on a slight decline
Right.
already, after 2 years of clean
Yeah.
streets, so,
Right, exactly.
yeah.
Um, we had the Batwoman, I'm sorry, not the Batwoman, but the
Catwoman?
Catwoman. Wow, we'll get there. We'll get there. We had Catwoman wearing fingerprints, somebody else's fingerprints. I thought that was pretty clever. I mean, it's been done in other stories and other movies and stuff like that. But the idea of having someone else's fingerprints
Mm,
was a fun idea. It
yeah.
didn't go into the great detail. I think it's quite often better sometimes when you sort of broad stroke ideas,
Mm,
especially if you're doing science fiction, and this is not science fiction, but when you broad stroke an idea as opposed to going into all the intricacies of why this thing will work, because then people can pick apart why it doesn't work. But if you just broad stroke it,
yeah.
then you don't have to worry about it as much.
Nothing to really argue with. And just like Catwoman stuff, like Anne Hathaway, Tom Hart, like the whole cast, they all do such a great job.
Catwoman.
Yeah, Catwoman, like Anne Hathaway did such a great job as that. Tom Hardy as Bane is really awesome.
Oh yeah.
And again, you got your classics, Christian Bale, Michael Caine,
Well, Gary
Gary
Oldman.
Oldman, like they all just, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt, like they all do a really, really great job in this. So I mean, it's a really star-studded cast, and the performances definitely sell it for me too.
Yeah,
They seem really sold out for the character that they are, which again, it helps a movie tremendously.
it really does.
So,
I think though, Anne Hathaway for me shines like a bright star
oh,
in this. She's so good, and she's won an Oscar or two, and but I think she's still underutilized in Hollywood because she's really good, and
mhm.
she really sold her character very well. And in the part in this scene where they're in the restaurant,
Yes,
and
one of my
she's
favorite scenes.
yeah, and they're about ready to kill her, essentially.
Yeah,
And then but she sets it up so that the cops come in and such. And then she screams
was the SWAT
when the
team.
SWAT team enters, and she screams like this innocent bystander caught
Yeah.
up in that scream is so great. She looks so legitimately legitimate.
Yeah.
It looks absolutely like she's literally terrified, and she's not. And it was like, wow, that's really good.
Yeah, it was that's one of my favorite scenes of the whole movie is just that little restaurant scene because we just see how clever she is, how
Mhm,
easily she can go from acting one way to acting another way
mhm,
without a second thought. And again, like just as a testament to her acting ability too, like that is
mhm.
so hard to do and so well done. So
Yeah.
absolutely loved it so much.
And I feel like, Christian Bale toned down the growling a bit in this one,
Yeah, yeah, his
you
Batman
know?
voice was
It was growly, but not as growly,
more
so
dude.
I think it was yeah,
A little more.
yeah, a little bit more, so I
Not
thought that worked out well. Okay, what else you got?
Yeah, so one of the things kind of jumping back a little bit before the restaurant scene is when we see Commissioner Gordon, he gets up to give this his essentially retirement speech
Oh, yeah.
by exposing Harvey Dent as the monster that he is, knowing full well what he says is going to basically release all these criminals back onto the street, but he's just going to retire. So, my, my, is this like a big screw you to the next commissioner? Like, is this a screw you to Gotham? Like, I don't understand why somebody who is, so into and, worked very hard to get all these people off the streets, all these criminals off the streets, would want to destroy that other than he feels guilty that he's been lying about Harvey Dent for so long.
Yeah.
But to me, that's kind of a weak thing to do, especially knowing, like, all the repercussions for what you're gonna say
Right.
because you feel guilty.
Right. And 8 years later. So again,
Right.
this timeline is 8 years later, Bruce Wayne's still depressed. 8 years later, Harvey Dent, or I'm sorry, Commissioner Gordon hasn't come to terms with his guilt.
Right.
Like, dude, come on.
That would have boiled over a long time ago.
Either that or you would have just accepted it and moved on. So that was, that was a bit much where he's going to come out. But the whole point of that scene was to set up the fact that Bane found out about the whole situation,
Right.
with Harvey Dent and everything like that.
Mm.
And so there could have been I think there's a better way for Bane to have found out.
Yeah, yeah, he could have easily had, like, somebody infiltrate Gordon's men and, like, get close to Gordon, or, like, we always have this second, like, the second in command guy underneath Gordon.
Foley.
Yeah, Foley. He could have been working for Bane, or maybe got tortured by Bane or something like that, and maybe Foley had found out and maybe wasn't supposed to.
And that would have worked out well because Foley was I didn't like him. I didn't like his character, and that would have made sense because he was always fighting against logic. And so he was weak and he fought against logic. So the idea that maybe Bane had turned him would play into the character that already exists on screen.
Yeah.
Oh, I see why he's weak. I see why he's always turning against it. He was tortured and easily flipped. He's working for Bane. That would have made more sense than this whole speech that is plugged away
Right, because this
in
whole
his pocket.
speech that he has, like, he goes from Bruce's party and then he's told on the rooftop, like, we gotta go find like, the wife of or the husband of, like, some senator or something like that. And, like, we're led to believe he's just kept the speech on the whole time. What?
I know, right? And it looked like a long one too. He had all these papers folded.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, what is this, like a
Like a manifesto here.
anyway?
I'm writing a biography on myself, and here's this thing. And that kind of leads me to another thing of, like, when they're going after the senator and they're chasing down Bane's men, why would Gordon go into the sewers?
Right.
He's the police commissioner. Like, that's what you got all of your other cops for.
Yeah.
It's like you'd order them to go down. It's like you wouldn't risk the police commissioner. Now, I know in the past he's been the running gun, do everything yourself kind of character. However, there is some logic that, again, you should follow. There's some protocol.
Yeah.
And he's got plenty of guys there.
Plus, he's what, 60-something years old.
Right. So why is he going down into sewers? Mind you, some of the most immaculate sewers I've ever seen in my life.
Production design was a little clean on that. The sewers looked great. I liked the PD on the sewers. And, the PD in the movie was pretty solid overall. But you're right. It was very clean sewers, almost like a waterfall, like a water park.
Yeah. It's like they clean the sewers more than they clean, like, the actual city, because the city was pretty gross, but...
Just waiting for kids to come sliding out one of the tubes. Let's do it again.
I mean, I kind of wanted to jump in that water a couple times. Like, this looks like foamy, warm water.
Refreshing.
Like, yeah, it looks like you're in a water park, like you said. Like, I'd take that water slide, but...
So, yeah, it looked good. It just...
a little too good.
Just a little... Yeah, Gotham. Yeah, like you said, the city of Gotham is sort of like a waking dumpster fire, but yet there's sewers. Primo. We've got the best sewers in the country.
Not only that, but they're expansive.
Oh, they're so spacious.
It's like a full-on city under the city. It's like, who built this?
It's like a 4-story underground cave.
I think it was bigger than that.
Yeah.
It was like just a massive space.
Yeah.
And, like, so big they couldn't even figure out where to go.
Right.
Like, you could hide a giant group of people in these sewers and no one could, like, figure out where they were.
Right.
That was
Yeah.
a little ridiculous, but again, it looked cool.
Yeah.
It looked really cool.
I was waiting for the Ninja Turtles to come out at some point, but it didn't happen.
That would have been a great crossover.
Well, there was a moment that I thought was interesting when, and this is a fun little moment where Bruce Wayne returns to Gotham, and the paparazzi are there. Oh, it's Bruce Wayne. Take his picture, and then he hits a button,
Yeah.
like a little EMP thing that knocks out all their gear.
Yep.
And now that I'm thinking about it, couldn't he use a similar EMP thing to shut down the trigger to the bomb?
Well, that's what they do use.
Oh,
He said, Fox or whatever says, he's like, I'm gonna need the EMP cannon from the bat, your helicopter. And
well, that's true.
it'll block
He
the signal.
did.
So it's like they took that EMP thing and they used it on the bomb to keep the signal from getting. So they did do that.
Maybe I was, you know, taking a break at that point.
It was a
Maybe I just didn't catch
That's a
that.
tiny little line, but that's well into the movie.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Well, thinking about it now though, just him having this little EMP button to shut down all these cameras, to me that's kind of a dead giveaway that he's Batman.
Right.
Like if anyone was paying attention, it's like, wait, no one else has this type of technology, and that really matches like stuff we've seen from Batman in the past.
Yeah.
This high tech tech that no one's ever really seen that apparently Bruce Wayne has.
Right.
I feel like if you did a little bit of digging, you could easily make the connection like, hold on a second.
Yeah.
This billionaire has all this cool technology, and we've kind of seen that with Batman.
Well, and that's the thing is that with the R&D department running all these military contracts, this gear is at some level is out in the world. And
Right.
and so when you see Batman in this sweet Batmobile that looks like a tank and this really interesting motorcycle, but of course the Batwing or the Bat, I guess they just call it the Bat,
Yes.
which I thought was not great. Batman flying the Bat. Anyways, but this amazing plane, hovercraft, whatever thing, and you got to think, who would have money to have one of these things? Bruce Wayne, the only rich person in Gotham, that's got, so much money.
Well, not to mention, Fox definitely didn't build that all by himself.
Right.
So he has a team of people somewhere that engineered it and built it.
Yeah.
And if they see their little baby flying around with Batman at the wheel,
They're like, hey,
I work for that guy.
but I signed an NDA, so I can't say anything.
Like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Okay. Like a little earlier in the movie, we're kind of jumping all around here.
Yeah, we kind of skipped to the end there for a second, but we want to go back.
Yeah. So let's go back to the 8 years. He's depressed, but he's also, has come to find out, his body is just a walking mess. And he's got no cartilage, he's got arthritis and
Scar tissue.
And like you said, he was Batman for how long?
Like a year or two,
like a year
I think.
or
I don't
two?
remember the exact time, but he wasn't Batman for that long.
Right. So again, kind of hard to believe. And not only that, but then he comes back to being Batman with no cartilage,
Right, and he's like completely unaffected.
and he's completely unaffected. And then they put this stupid knee brace on him that stretches out his kneecap so it doesn't touch. And then he kicks brick wall with his tennis shoes and breaks the brick wall with his tennis shoes. If anybody kicked a brick wall with tennis shoes and broke that brick, they would have broken their foot. And he's like, yeah, this seems to work great. Like, what do you have? Like, do you have neuropathy in your feet? Can you not feel anything?
kicking, puts his foot down and just tumbles because his foot's just shattered into a million pieces.
Yeah. Plus, I think medically speaking, the idea of pulling these two bones apart and having a feasible joint on soft flesh, it doesn't work. So, anyways,
Well, it never comes back.
well, it never comes back.
Like they had all this whole sequence that just amounted to nothing, and to me it was just kind of pointless. Like if you want Batman to be, all like arthritis and stuff like that, it's like, okay, use that in a fight. Maybe he can't move as quickly, or maybe he's just like like he does something. It's like, that hurts, and like he's not the Batman he was, and he has to come to terms with that and figure out a new way to become Batman.
And that's the one way to fix it. I would never have had that crap in there in the first.
Oh, I wouldn't have either.
It would have just been a depressed guy who's fully functional.
Yeah.
Hiding, not some depressed guy whose body doesn't work. I think that's and that could have cut down the runtime too. We don't need that. Plus, movies have shown, like box office has shown, and reviews have shown that people don't like to see their heroes being old and beaten up.
Yeah.
Look at the Harrison Ford remakes and with, we saw Dial of Destiny and his they did that one pretty well because he was old and he just said it's not the years, it's the mileage and things like that.
Right,
But
but he was still pretty beaten up.
but he's still pretty beaten up, but he was legitimately old in that movie.
Right.
So when you've got Batman, like just to say they're old and they're beat up and they can't do anymore, that it's uninspiring.
It is, especially when that their whole character is like fight through the pain. I'm going to
Yeah.
make sure I finish this regardless of what's happened to me.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, if they're now old and decrepit or not even old, just decrepit,
Right.
young and decrepit, that's just, yeah, like you said, it's uninspiring.
Well, and then he starts to do a workout montage in prison, which we'll get to.
Right.
But it's like, okay, if you have no cartilage, if you've established that your body is a walking wreck, you're
Arthritis
not
in
gonna
your
be doing
arms and
and your at one point your vertebrae was protruding. You're not gonna be like, yeah, Rocky workout montage. Whatever.
yeah,
They
CrossFit all the way, baby.
CrossFit, right? All right.
uh, Going back to some positives though, and again, this is kind of jumping all over the place on this one, but I do like his return sequence when Bane and those guys have attacked the stock market. That's a really fun chase on the motorcycles where Batman comes back. We see the whole police force going after him. Like the logistics behind that whole sequence, like it's pretty crazy. But I think it was a fun way to kind of introduce Bane and Batman together.
Right.
We see Bane at the stock exchange. We see how quick he moves. We see how smart he is.
Mm-hmm.
Batman goes after him, kind of figures out a little bit of what he's doing, but then gets foiled by the cops because they all go after him. So I enjoy that sequence a lot. I think it's a fun one.
It's a really fun sequence. The setup though and the payoff for that sequence are not good storytelling because the sequence was a blast, but the whole idea was that they go in there with his fingerprints and they buy and sell some stuff on the stock market in a terrorist act that everyone sees. They murder people, the cops come, it's on the news, and then they're like, Bruce Wayne foolishly blows all of his money, sells all these stocks, and does all this stuff. It's really evident that it wasn't Bruce Wayne doing that.
Right, especially if you were to simply look at the stocks and be like, hey, no one else made trades at this time while this terrorist attack was going on, except for Bruce Wayne, who clearly wasn't there.
Right.
Like that,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the setup was bad. And again, the whole idea of they're trying to use the stock market to bankrupt Bruce Wayne to get him out of Wayne Enterprises so someone else can take over. That to me is just a really like convoluted process and like just idea to like, okay, let's get rid of this guy and like there could have been a more creative solution to that.
So, yeah, so like they could have blackmailed someone on the board to do something and to come out as some sort of like a scandal. They could have
Yeah.
fabricated a scandal
Yeah.
on the board to say so and so stole blah 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 and is blah blah, and it could have all been fake and fabricated, and it could have
Mm,
been coercion, and that could have made the stock prices, plummet.
right.
Or they could have released like a series of scheduled scandals, and you could have made it all happen in one scene. This happened, and then this happened, and then this happened in the last 3 days. Everybody get out of the stock as soon as you can. And they could have bankrupted through manipulation as opposed to
Mm.
a terrorist attack, which would have been better for in terms of story, but not in terms of, a cool movie scene.
Well, the thing is, he was a whole shutout. So they could have done something with that. It's like, what's Bruce Wayne doing locked up in his mansion?
Mm,
Fabricate like, well, maybe he did this and that, and like you said, just come up with a bunch of scandals like that Bruce is doing that
yeah.
no one knows about because he's just locked up in his mansion
Yeah. I mean, he's
and he's
the
not
easiest target.
not paying attention to it or whatever, and then they just kind of try to force him out that way or get him to be voted off the board even without taking his money per se.
Yeah.
Because that's what, like part of the character is, he's Bruce Wayne. He's filthy rich. Like Batman's rich. That's why he's got all the toys, all the tech.
Yeah.
Like a broke Batman is just kind of bizarre to me.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
well.
So that stock market scene was a great scene, but the reasoning behind it was a bit forced.
Mm-hmm. So kind of jumping ahead a little bit too. One thing that I really enjoy is like when Bane and Batman first face off in the sewers. Um, One thing I noticed, which was really interesting to me, Batman attacks Bane first.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Which to me is like, that's crazy because, he's supposed to be the hero, and yet he's attacking first,
yeah,
unprovoked per se, and then he gets his butt kicked.
yeah,
But that's a really great fight, and again, it was fun to see how it's like Batman thinks he's still the same Batman he was,
yeah,
but then he does nothing to Bane.
right,
Um, One thing again I love is like Bane's going after him, and his steps are like super weighted,
yeah.
and heavy.
But he's got this really high voice. So, Batman, like, I've come to take Gotham City with my high pitched voice. But I love Tom Hardy, though. He's the best. And he's so, I don't think he's much taller than me, and I am not tall.
No, he's
Um,
not. He's like short, but man,
but
he held his own against Christian Bale there.
yeah, he was pretty ripped up.
Oh,
But I love Tom Hardy. His voice work and stuff is so great. And I do love the high pitched brain voice, take over Gotham. It's just great.
there's a few times he went low, which was really cool.
Yeah, he's got that whole dynamic
He had a very good
works out really well.
And again, it's like he acted the whole movie with something covering most of his face. Like he did all of his acting with his eyes,
Yeah,
which that's really hard to do.
yeah,
And that's really, really impressive. Like to me, he's one of the best actors out in Hollywood.
yeah,
This is one of the reasons why, like, he's just so good.
absolutely. We are just kind of skipping all over today.
Yeah, a little off the cuff. But
When we talk about Blake and the character of Robin, I thought Joseph Gordon-Levitt did a really great job with that. He played a good cop character, and I like him as an actor. I think he does a fine job.
yeah,
One part of the story that was kind of weird is Blake, he ends up getting in a fight with some guys on the street, and he shoots them. Like he gets killed by his gun.
right.
He throws his gun away. He's a cop. Oh, I've shot somebody. Oh,
Shot somebody.
and
Killed him.
he's like, oh, I want to get rid of this gun. And then 2 seconds later, he grabs a shotgun. Like, wait, what's happening right now? He's a cop who shoots bad guys,
Yeah.
just disgusted by himself, throws away his gun, but then doggone it, I'm gonna grab a shotgun. So I don't know what happened there with continuity or whatever, but
Yeah,
he should not be disgusted that he shot bad guys. He's a freaking cop.
because one of the bad guys was trying to pull a gun on him. You could clearly see he was pulling out a pistol to shoot him. He
Mhm.
kills that guy. Then the other guy grabs him to take his gun to shoot him, and he
Mhm.
kills that guy.
Yeah.
He did nothing wrong.
No.
Whatsoever. And yet he's, like you said, he's like all disgusted and just like, oh my gosh, what did I do? I killed somebody. Never done that before. Well,
Yeah,
you're a
right.
cop, dude. Like, you were protecting yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then, like you said, it says save Gordon, he's got a full-on shotgun.
Right. Well,
I won't kill people to protect myself, but if somebody else is trying to kill somebody, I'll shoot them to
Right.
protect them. Like, wait, what?
yeah.
Okay.
So we got to get to like the prison, and then also like the taking over Gotham
Yeah.
too. So the prison scene, the prison was great, PD, and great setup, great looking prison. I've never seen that kind of concept of a prison.
Yeah.
It kind of reminded me of like the Tai Lung from Kung Fu Panda,
Yeah.
down inside of it. But it was really, the concept was a really great concept of people can look up, have hope, but they can't get out.
Right. Like mentally speaking, that's just a major breaking of the spirit.
Right. But they also had electricity, television, they had food. You have to,
Water.
they had food and water, and they actually had cells that they locked people in cells. You can't get out. Who's doing this? Are they coming and going out of an elevator shaft? Do you really need to climb to the top, or do you need to infiltrate the office and go up the elevator to
Right.
get out? So the
Right.
whole idea of people working in the prison.
Yeah, that to me was really weird because, the doctor talks about how Bane's paying him to keep Bruce alive. It's like he's stuck in a prison. I feel like he is a prisoner. What is he getting paid with? And why would that do anything? Because he's not getting out. He's
Yeah.
stuck down there with the rest of them. And also it's like all these prisoners seem pretty cordial with each other. So the whole
What's up,
idea,
dude?
yeah, it's like, one guy's gonna climb out and they're all cheering him on. It's like, okay, they all seem to be kind of buddy. So again, like you said, what's the point of locking cell doors or having cells in the first place? Like,
Yeah, if you
It
can't get out.
it's
And then how are they setting up television and cable and
right.
you
Well,
know
I know they said, like, it was Bane's prison, and so he set up the TV.
No, I heard
But,
they
again,
did
like you
that.
said, it's like, how do they how do they have a satellite feed whatsoever? Or, like you said, electricity, like, are they running lines? Because 'Cause they're, like, in some it looks like some ancient city
Yeah.
off in the distance, so
So I would have just removed the concept of, the TV and just have it be word of mouth. Maybe they could drop messages. Maybe they could drop messages down into the prison that somebody could read. You don't need to see it on television. He could be reading about it. He ends up getting mad anyways. But it was so out of place to have a TV down there. You don't need a doctor. You just need another prisoner who knows what's going on,
right,
right?
and maybe that's what he was supposed to be, but again, they really made it clear it's like he's a prison doctor.
Right, and his idea of chiropractic is to back punch a spinal cord injury into place. I was like, I know. Okay, so I deeply appreciate chiropractic. It has helped my life so much. So I know that every chiropractor who watches that scene is probably cringes. It's probably the worst thing they've has seen movie they've from a movie they've ever seen is a guy just punching his vertebrae quote into place and not paralyzing
Let him
him.
hang there to get better.
Every chiropractor's like, no, that's not what happens. That's not what you do. So anyway,
Yeah. So again, I got a little jumping around to do because I saw something that I forgot about. It's like, um, going back, I don't like how Alfred's never happy with Bruce.
right.
Everything that Bruce does, like, it just like Alfred always seems to be like opposing him. It's like, go out there, like, have a life, like, get over Rachel, and it becomes Batman again. It's like, well, you can't do that because, you've got nothing left to give, and so that's like, come on, man, just support him somehow. And then his idea of trying to save Bruce's life is leaving him. That
Yeah.
was so against his character, and it really bothered me when
Yeah.
Alfred left, and I just didn't like that.
And that's his whole identity, as he even states, is to be a helper of the family. And I get it. You need to build in some conflict and stuff like that, but leaving him was a weird way to do it. He could have restricted Bruce Wayne in some way. He could have done something else, but leaving him was weird for sure. And
Yeah,
and I think it could have been done differently for sure.
yeah. So I just want to do that. But like the jumping back to this pit thing. So we hear the story of this mercenary who was gonna get thrown into the pit and stuff. Then we find out like this warlord who was gonna send him in the pit lets him leave, and instead puts his pregnant daughter into this pit. Why the heck would he do that? And why, after the mercenary left, would this warlord not bring her back out?
Right.
It's his daughter,
His
carried
pregnant
his grandchild, and he's just gonna leave her in like the worst prison on earth?
That made no sense.
His prison?
Yeah.
That
Yeah, like she took the criminal's place or the mercenary's place. But all the mercenary did was love her, right?
yeah.
So like he takes his daughter's love, throws his daughter's love into a prison, the mercenary. And then she's like, "No, I'll take his place and I'm pregnant." And he's like, okay. I guess we'll switch you two out." And then she gets attacked in prison.
And gets killed.
Like I kind of rub my face with this because what?
Yeah, that was really convoluted.
Yeah, and it doesn't follow any semblance of logic.
Right.
You gotta dabble in reality. Even when you're doing fantasy, you have to have reality in there, and it doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. It was really convoluted. And then they spin it, well, it's Bane and it's Miss Tate and all this stuff, and they dump that big twist all out later on. And
Yeah.
so that was a weird story setup, for sure.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of that.
I mean, it shouldn't have been the guy's daughter. It should have been like his servant or somebody else, because then he would be like, "Sure, yeah, if you want to go down there, I don't care." It shouldn't have been like you're hanging out with my daughter. I don't like you. I'm gonna throw you in prison. Oh, now I'm gonna throw my pregnant daughter in prison. That doesn't make any sense. But if you just changed around some of the pieces
Mm.
and made him like, well, I don't want you messing with my servant. I don't want you messing with my, whatever.
Mm.
And they needed to patch that up a little better.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm. And then some of the things where like he hallucinates Ra's al Ghul. I thought there's a couple positives I got in here where I thought it was a good idea where he hallucinates Ra's al Ghul and tells him the wrong story.
Right.
You know, and so as an audience, we're believing whatever Ra's al Ghul is saying, but functionally, he's lying. Well, he's not lying. Functionally, he's telling the wrong story because it's a hallucination that Bruce Wayne is having. So I thought that was pretty clever.
Yeah.
Um, it was a quite a bit of a bamboozle, but
Yeah.
it was legit because we see that he's actually hallucinating him, and so it was interesting. It was an interesting way to get us off the track of who's really who and what's really happening.
Yeah, because they really played up the whole idea that it was Bane that climbed out, and then in the end we find out it was not Bane, it was Talia who he thought like he was having a romantic relationship. So like it was a good bamboozle. And I like how they did it. One thing I really liked too though was Alfred did his little research on who Bane was and found out he was excommunicated from the League of Shadows.
Mhm.
And Bane and then Bruce and Alfred both think it's like he was probably excommunicated because he was like too extreme
Too extreme.
for Ra's al Ghul, and it's like someone who's too extreme for that's like no one to travel with. Then in the end, we find out it's like Ra's al Ghul excommunicated Bane because he reminded him of his wife that he failed to save, and like the daughter that he left in this hell on earth. And it's like I like that little twist of like he wasn't too extreme.
Yeah.
And like he's still trying to fulfill Ra's al Ghul's destiny or whatever, but Ra's al Ghul just couldn't bear to look at him because he was reminded too much of his wife, so he kicked him out. Like that was an interesting little twist. I kind of like that.
And it was a nice little bit of like an emotional twist. That makes way more sense.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
100%. um I something I noticed like watching it again, because when we find out that Miranda, we think she's in love with Bruce, we find out she's actually the one who is leading this whole charge. She's Ra's al Ghul's daughter, stuff like that. It's interesting because all this stuff for like Gordon and his team goes wrong when she joins up.
Mhm.
And that's the point. It's like she's a mole. She wants to find out what they all know. It's like they tell her like we figured out what truck the bomb is in,
Mm.
and then when they're going to stop it, the bomb's not there. It's because she moved it because
'Cause she
wow,
knows.
it's like okay, they know where it's at. We need to get this out of here because they're gonna stop this
Yeah.
one at this time. Gordon and his men get captured when she first joins up to the team. It's like they're trying to show her how they do things, and then all of a sudden all of Bane's men just show up out of the blue when they've never done that before,
Mm.
and she's with them. So I like that. It's like, and again, the first time watching it through, you don't know that because you don't realize she's the bad guy, but it's like watching it through again, it's like, oh, she's letting Bane know the whole play by play,
Mhm.
which is the point. And like that's how they are planning on, winning the day, I guess, in their sick, twisted way.
Yeah. And then we have the scenes where, they get all of Commissioner Gordon tells get all the police into the sewers, right?
Yes.
And he's hopped up on meds.
Painkillers,
He's in the hospital, hopped up on meds. There's got to be an acting commissioner that would have
probably Foley.
probably Foley should have, and he's an unlikable character anyway.
Right.
So it would have been nice to have him say, "Everybody get into the sewers," because, like you were telling me, I'll just give you credit for it. Is like who's gonna listen to like a hopped up commissioner saying, "Get everybody in the sewers," as he's on, in the hospital, all hooked up to all sorts of things, like
He's clearly not in his right mind.
yeah,
As you said, it's like if a president goes in for surgery or is in the hospital, like they put in an acting president, the vice president. So why would you not do the same with your police commissioner,
right,
who is like bedridden for weeks in the hospital, and now you're just gonna listen to him when he's got tubes and crap? Like, come on, man, that's just a regret, like a taking reality out of it.
yeah. But I thought it was really clever the idea of infusing explosives into the construction around the stadium,
Yeah.
the blowing up of the stadium, the trapping of the police, underground, and then the as Bane comes out and says, "We're gonna free you." It's very Marxist. He's literally gaslighting everyone.
Yeah.
He's like, "I'm freeing you. You're free, and you
Mhm.
need to take back whatever, and we're gonna let out these people thrown in prison unjustly, and we're gonna give them guns." And so I thought, so that was good that that happened. And what a great scene when the ground breaks up underneath
Oh, so cool.
the stadium. A really great shot and stuff like that. But then we got all these police trapped underground, and we got anarchy up above,
Mhm.
and no one can get off the island. And then we got a lot more story to cover here, and we kind of
Yeah, again,
daylight
we've
here.
been jumping all around, which gets a little confusing, but um, yeah. Oh, I totally forgot. Oh, I can talk about this because this comes in at the very end with the whole nuke or whatever. But um, yeah. So they do a good job of everyone's trapped. We've got a ticking time bomb that only a few people know about,
Hmm.
so that puts on the good pressure. They something they don't make clear is how does Bruce ever get back into Gotham?
Right.
Everything's shut down. Definitely no flights in or out of Gotham, and yet somehow he just appears with like 12 hours left to save the day.
Yeah.
That was kind of writer's convenience for sure.
Yeah. And how do you fly somebody out of the country? And we don't know where that is. And then how does he get back into the country? Yeah, it was definitely rather convenience for sure. I suppose, move the story along.
Mhm. Well, another thing that so their whole plan is to take this nuke and put it back into the reactor to stabilize it to keep it from blowing up. And then of course the reactor gets flooded so that they can't do that because it
Mhm.
destroys the reactor. Something I always wondered is why would Bane and his men not have flooded that reactor from the get-go?
Right.
They've left some opportunity for someone to try to reconnect it. Why would they have not closed off all possibility of reconnecting this bomb
Hmm.
by just flooding it after they get the bomb out?
Hmm.
Like to me, if you're because their whole ideology is this bomb's gonna go off, we're all gonna die with it, and that's the plan.
Yeah.
So why would you ever have some way to escape that plan by reconnecting the bomb and stabilizing it? It's like,
Right. You got to burn all the ships.
hell, burn it all because you got to move forward.
Yeah.
So like having that around fix again probably, but again, Bane's men are free to do what they want. So I don't
Right.
really know how you would have closed that exit.
Well, they could have done. I think the whole point of that was to have one more set piece and to have Fox in a position of struggle, like like his life is at risk.
Hmm.
So they could have done something else with that. But it would have been neat to. I think it would have been neat if they would have flooded it earlier on as well to say, "Wow, these guys are really committed. Wow, there really is no hope," because it did set up an idea of hope, and that's fine. I mean,
Yeah.
that's good storytelling too.
Yeah. Yeah.
But also, it's good storytelling to say there is no hope. Now you're all screwed.
Hmm.
Um,
Because yeah, so I mean, is there is no hope you're all screwed was when they flooded the reactor
right.
for sure. So I mean, they did that is a good storytelling thing. I guess thinking about it though, it's like they only had like a couple minutes left anyways. How long would it have taken to actually get the bomb back up? Like, I feel like if they had tried to get the bomb back to the reactor, it would have blown because like who's like two people are gonna lift that, but and one of them's Fox and the other one's an arthritis-ridden Batman. Like, I don't know how you get that underground and reconnect it in like 2 minutes. So that
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that's kind of funny. But I tell you what. So
I think well, sorry, I don't want to cut you off, but like I think the whole setup was like they wanted them to realize like Batman has to make a sacrifice
sure,
as like the last resort thing.
sure,
But what if that was the first resort?
right.
That would have been more interesting. Of like everyone like, no, you don't need to do this. But we'll figure out another way. It's like there is no other way
Yeah.
other than here's the way we're gonna try to do it. Okay, now that's out of the business, so now I gotta sacrifice. So like I think it could have worked either way.
Yeah. But it was a great story idea to have we've got the bomb put on 3 different semi trucks driving around, and anyone can pull the trigger. Anyone. Can push the button, you know?
Yeah.
So that really added a great element of tension, and that worked out really well.
Yeah.
Uh
100%.
and so I appreciated that part as well. So we have a lot of constructors for the movie, but we do like the movie.
Yeah,
It's
100.
not, it's
It's
not
a
to
really
say we
well
don't like
done
the
movie,
movie.
and again, just from like the Rotten Tomato scores, like most people really like the movie.
Yeah, it's a good movie. Um,
Hmm.
sometimes they'll like it, and this is the same thing in the Pirates of the Caribbean. Like sometimes the accents are so thick. We watch it. Been watching these movies lately with the closed captioning on, and I go, "Oh my gosh, is that what they said?" Because these
Even I
accents,
do that too. Yeah.
yeah, these accents get so thick,
Yeah.
and they kind of mumble talk with thick accents in some of these movies these days. It's like, oh, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
But
Stop with the mumblecore.
yes, that was a mumblecore. That's old business. So you want to go to the ending? Where clock is.
Yes, I mean like.
So he flies out.
Mm.
Batman. Oh, well, first Blake.
Oh yeah, that's what you wanted to talk about, right?
Yeah, Blake's whole idea is he's gotta get these kids off the island, right? They gotta get them across the bridge, and it was a fruitless endeavor.
Yes.
They blow up the bridge anyway. He doesn't save anybody. So it was like, well, that whole storyline went literally nowhere,
Yeah.
and so that could have been taken out. Um, I did like the part in the same kind of concept where they're exiling people
Oh
off
yeah.
of the ice. So that was a great scene and great tension as well.
Mhm.
Some of the things, something I didn't like. I think that he should have gotten some kids over because then he
Mm.
would have been at least a hero for a few people. Like, but he never even explains to the people guarding it. He's like, "You just got the wrong information." I mean, you use your words, big boy. Like, but the stories have
The
that.
bomb's going to go off.
So I'm not sure why they needed to have that, maybe to make it feel more hopeless. But the thing is we want Robin to be a hero, not a loser.
Right. I feel like everything he does in the movie, he like doesn't succeed at.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah.
Which is tough because then in the end it's like he's in the Batcave and the idea is he's gonna take up the mantle of Batman. It's like, well, he never really once won in this movie.
Yeah,
Every time he tried, so how successful is he gonna be as like a Cape Crusader?
right.
You know?
Yeah.
That yeah.
So, yeah, absolutely. And then the ending, Batman takes it out over the ocean. Clock's ticking. We're bamboozled to think that, 4 seconds left and it blows up way out there. No tidal wave, of course.
Right.
Yay! No tidal wave. That could have been a cool visual
Oh yeah.
construct to have like a big tidal wave, not a big one, but maybe even just like a reasonable sized wave come and hit the city, and then everyone's like, "It's over! Yay!" Like
Yeah, that would
you know. But yeah, that also is a little bit convoluted to where we're showing him clock's ticking down, 4 seconds left, and then somehow he gets away from the nuclear bomb. And like oh, okay, the idea of he's got so many things that you can control by computer, like drone control, that
mm,
technically he could have had his bat on control where he flies it like through controls over the ocean, and it blows up the bat and he's safe and sneaks away.
yeah.
But that's not heroic and that's not epic ending.
Right.
But I don't know. It always kind of bothered me that sometimes Nolan really tries to pull the wool over the audience's eyes a little too hard,
Mhm.
and it can be annoying.
Mm.
Like the Ra's al Ghul, telling Ghost in his mind, telling him the wrong information, and then the airplane flying and blowing up. But it is what it is, and people love it, and
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, it made over $1 billion, so who are we to judge too
Yeah,
hard?
no, definitely are.
He-
I did like the ending though. I thought the setup and payoff for the ending.
Yeah, just like all the little tidbits of like Batman in his own special way, showing people, he's alive. The people that knew who he was, cared about him, stuff like Fox with the autopilot, rebuilding the light for Gordon, the Batcave for Robin, and then doing a nod to Alfred. Like it was a good ending and stuff like that. It was weird. And we were trying to figure out is like if this was the or the private funeral for Bruce Wayne, how only like 3 people were at his funeral.
Yeah.
It was Alfred, Fox, and Gordon.
Mm-hmm.
And like was a billionaire person who knew like why is there no one else at the funeral of Bruce Wayne?
Yeah.
Unless of course it's like they had like the public funeral or whatever that we just didn't see. This is like these were the people who knew who he was.
Yeah. And now that I'm thinking about it, he's sitting in an Italian restaurant. You know, the word paparazzi is Italian, and he's Bruce Wayne, who
Yeah.
just supposedly died. You know, and I'm not gonna. I don't want to be too critical on this, but it's like, wouldn't he run the risk of being noticed?
He's just gonna say,
But
like, "I get
story,
that all the time.
yeah,
I'm not actually Bruce Wayne."
yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, but story has to happen, it's an enjoyable ending. So I'm being nitpicky for sure.
Yeah.
So
So, overall, no, we really, really enjoy this movie. Again, it's a really great trilogy, and it's one of the trilogies that has defined, superhero movies. Um, definitely the best DC trilogy,
oh my gosh, yes.
by far, and so
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it did define. It really did go out to define the modern era of superhero movies for sure.
mm,
And because everything before that was really cartoony
yes,
and cheesy
very campy.
and campy. And so now they're like, oh, we can make a gritty, superhero movie. And now DC has turned it into like a split of comedy and goofiness as well as action and drama.
DC or Marvel?
Marvel, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
Marvel. Yeah.
Marvel has done that. And DC has really tried to plod forth with the hardcore serious.
They've sold out
and they-
on like the super dark gritty.
and it really hasn't paid off.
No, it
I
is.
mean, it really hasn't. So it's probably because Nolan isn't doing those movies.
Probably. I mean, he
know.
definitely the way he did it. And again, the practical effects is a huge, huge draw, especially in a superhero movie. When nowadays, Marvel's just shot in a blue room
Yeah.
with a couple actors, and then the whole world is just computer generated. Like the fact that he made sets, he flipped cars, he blew up things. Like
Yeah.
that's just awesome, and it looks better.
It looks good.
It always
Plus,
looks
it's way more fun to film.
Yeah, 100%.
All right.
So
Well, that's Dark Knight Rises for us.
yeah, so we decided that we wanted to do a sequel pitch.
Mm-hmm.
We'll do it for money purposes, because
money.
yeah, because money. And again, overall we really, really like the movie, so why fix it? Because it was just little tweaks, so there's no need to repitch it. So ours happens again after the supposed death of Batman here.
So this is a sequel to the Dark Knight Rises pitch.
Yes.
Our pitch for the sequel to Dark Knight Rises.
Yes.
All right, why don't you start it off, bud?
All right. So after the supposed death of Batman, the criminals in Gotham see this as a new dawn for crime. Cape Crusader is dead, and there's no one left to get in their way. So crime in the city is now on the rise, and the already fragile city is on the brink of collapse under the surge of new gangs. That is until a new hero appears. John Blake, after finding the Batcave, understands that Batman still needs to exist for justice to succeed. But he doesn't want to diminish the sacrifice of Batman, so he takes on his own form of the hero, Nightwing.
Nightwing is able to restore some order to Gotham, reining in new gangs, and working more with the police to ensure that criminals get justice. But when a new series of criminal activities are discovered to be linked, Nightwing might not be up to the task of stopping them alone. A series of riddles is found at several seemingly random crime scenes, making them connected somehow. The only calling card of the writer of these riddles is the Riddler. Nightwing goes after him, but that was a part of the Riddler's plan. And in the process of trying to capture him, Jim Gordon is killed. Nightwing realizes he needs help from Batman.
He tracks down Bruce, and after telling him that Gordon is dead and Gotham is in trouble, Bruce agrees to come back to help as Batman. The two take to the streets, and soon everyone knows that Batman is back, and this pleases the Riddler, who sees this as a new game to play. Batman and Nightwing try interrogating different gangs to find out where the Riddler is and what his plan is for Gotham, but it gets them nowhere. Nightwing eventually takes things a little too far for Batman's liking in the interrogations, which leads to several disagreements about morals and ethics. The Riddler strikes again, which causes a real panic in Gotham, and Nightwing ends up putting several people in danger while trying to stop the Riddler and go in after him. And Batman has to save them, and the Riddler escapes once more. This is the last straw for Batman, and he splits from Nightwing.
Riddler manages to capture Nightwing, brainwashing him into working for the Riddler. Batman lays out the crimes the Riddler has done and the riddles left behind at each of the crime scenes. After some time, Batman is able to crack the code and figures out the Riddler has been attacking corrupt officials in Gotham and is planning to expose all the corruption in Gotham through a major terrorist attack at the inauguration of the new mayor of Gotham.
Batman tries to warn the police, but they don't heed his warnings. He's waiting for the Riddler to show when he sees Nightwing with a gun or a bomb, something like that. We haven't figured out exactly what it is. Batman and Nightwing fight, and Batman discovers that Nightwing is under some sort of mind control, and after a long battle, Batman is able to free Nightwing's mind from the Riddler. Riddler is appalled that his plan failed, and he tries to finish the job himself, but Batman and Nightwing are able to finally stop him and save the mayor and ultimately Gotham. Batman says his goodbyes to Nightwing, reassuring him that he's all Gotham needs now before going back into retirement. The end. And this would be called Batman Returns.
Batman Returns, and that makes sense.
It starts with Batman Begins, ends with Batman Returns.
Perfect. And no Robin, he's Nightwing.
Right.
Which is great because Robin is a sidekick.
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah.
That's our pitch.
Yeah. That was the sequel pitch that we would like to see and make, Nolan, if you're out there, for the Dark Knight Rises and the whole Dark Knight Trilogy. So, yeah. Thank you for listening once again to another episode of Pitch Please. Again, everything we talked about is just our thoughts and opinions. This is just how we would have done it. How we would have fixed what we thought were issues. We're not saying we're right or wrong. We're just, having fun, trying to, talk about movies and try to make them better in our minds and our own opinion. So,
And we like Nolan. We're actually doing Nolan in our next episode.
yes.
We're going to do Inception. So again, we have some positives and constructives, but we appreciate all filmmakers. We appreciate that they get their movies made.
Mm-hmm.
So kudos to all filmmakers out there, all story writers, and absolutely love you and appreciate you.
Yes.
And so like and subscribe, tell your friends about this, and keep following us for more pitches on Pitch Please.
Yes. And if you have not noticed already, going forward, we found that trying to do a new pitch, a new episode every week is just a little too much for us to handle at the moment. So we're actually going to be taking it down to just 2 pitches a month as opposed to 1 every week. So every 2 weeks we'll come out with a new episode. So going forward, it starts this April. We'll have 1 more pitch for April, and then we'll just kind of continue in that way. So yeah, not every week.
Not every week.
Every other week, kind of going from here forward. But still, please just check it out when it comes out because we appreciate it.
Yeah, and we have some projects we're working on. We're doing some screenwriting, got some movie production stuff planning out in the near future.
Yes.
I'm finishing up a book on screenwriting. So yeah, we're getting a little busy, and it takes a little bit of brain power to come up with a pitch. So
Yeah, there's a lot of work that goes into it. So
all right.
yeah. Thank you all for listening to another episode of Pitch Please.